I was completely wrong. When I did my pre-tournament rankings for Masters Santiago, I tried to use a bunch of data to make sort of informed decisions about which teams were going to do well and which teams were going to do poorly. And the results were pretty bad. However, I don't think that the math was the problem. I was. When I made my predictions, I didn't know who was going to play who after the first series of matchups. And so I just kind of, made some assumptions based off of this map strength rating and some of the other numbers that I was looking at about who would make it through. But the reality is that Valorant is a game that is determined a lot by matchups. And so if you don't know what the actual matchups are, it's very hard to know who's actually going to win. And because matchups are such an important part of Valorant, it's really important to factor that in when you're making predictions, which is something I didn't do. So when I took the actual matchups of the event and I ran them through the same formula that I used to sort of create the strength tier list, here's what the results were. The model got 7 out of 10 correct, or 70%. And the 3 ones that I got wrong were the 2 Paper X wins over G2 and NRG, and then Team Liquid upsetting T1. Everything else it predicted correct. And even though it didn't necessarily get the picks and bans correct, it got the overall result of the matches correct. Now, initially, I used the Gemini AI to do this, but recently I've been using Claude AI, which I think is maybe a little bit better at doing data work and sort of more mathematical analysis. This is how Claude is thinking about the game. There's different weights to different statistics. I had it run a regression model to sort of look at the correlation. And then I also had it adjust the teams that have already played to sort of emphasize their more recent form versus previous historical data. And with all that being said, we're going to take the human out of this. I'm not going to have any biases put in. T1, I can't believe I believed in them again. And we're just going to go ahead and purely rely on robots to make our predictions for the playoffs. So our first match is between Nongshim and Mates. Here we go. Okay, so here's what AI thinks is going to happen. Here's the picks and bans and the map by map odds of who it thinks it's going to win, which results in a 52.3% series result rate for Nongshim. Now, this is very close, and part of me wants to kind of immediately disregard this because of Mates already being warmed up on stage, Nongshim playing their first international. Part of me really thinks that this is probably going to be flipped, and I don't think Nongshim's going to be blown out, but I would maybe favor Mates. But the point of the video is to trust the robots, and that's what we're going to do. Nongshim is going to take the first match. It's going to be very close. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so I'm excited for this one. Claude says that there's a genuinely surprising result here. It thinks that G2 is going to ban Corrode, AG will ban Pearl, we'll get Bind, Split, and Breeze as our map pool, and on those map odds, we can see that there is a slight favor towards AG. So Claude thinks that AG is going to win this series, 52.8% to 47.2%. Again, I'm not necessarily going to believe this, but you know what? Trust the robots. Now, one thing I will say looking at this is I did not sort of penalize the Chinese team here for being from China, which I have done in some of my other analysis videos. That might have been a mistake. Okay, here we go. Furia versus Paper X. We can see that looks like Furia is supposed to ban Breeze. PRX is supposed to ban Pearl. And map by map looks like a pretty dominant Paper X win. Wow, 72%. Very lopsided. The model's definitely down on Furia, which is kind of interesting. All right, here we go. A fascinating matchup, says Claude. BBL should ban Abyss. Energy should ban Pearl. Looks like we would get Corrode, Split, and Bind as the 3 maps if this went exactly as expected. And map by map, that would equate to a BBL win of 63% chance. Okay, Mates versus G2, a fascinating clash. Looks like we're going to be targeting Pearl and Abyss with the bans. Split, Haven, Breeze would be the map pool if this is correct at predicting, which I will say the models have not been particularly accurate. A lot of teams don't ban mathematically at all. They just ban based on what they think or what they've experienced in scrims, or I don't totally know all of the reasoning behind how people do their map vetoes. But with this result, it would be Mates winning on Split, G2 winning on Haven, and Mates taking it on Breeze. So this actually has G2 going out early despite being the tournament favorite according to the model's mathematics initially. Okay, Furia versus Energy in America's match. And it looks like the model is not high on Furia. Energy taking the edge 60.9%. Okay, Nongshim versus AG, another tight one according to the model. Nongshim should ban Split, AG should ban Bind. Haven Corrode Pearl would be the pool, and that would equate to an AG win. Again, man, I think we needed to probably penalize the Chinese teams because ain't no way. But you know what? Let's go with it. AG's going on a run, bucking the China narrative, making everybody who's been hating on China this tournament cry. I don't believe this, Claude. I think you're leading us astray, but hey, let's go with it. All right. Paper X versus BBL, a match defined by two massive brutal bans. What does that even mean? Okay, so Paper X would ban Pearl in this case because I guess it's BBL's best map, and BBL would ban Split, which has been Paper X's big map. So that would leave Haven, Corrode, and Abyss. I don't think this is actually going to be the map pool because Paper X has not shown their Abyss. I would assume they would play something else, like maybe Breeze, but who knows? This says Paper X wins anyway, 63%. All right, moving on to BBL and Mates. Pearl and Split are the entire story, according to Claude. Both of them get banned, and we end up with a Mates victory, 56% over BBL. Nongshim versus NRG is a painful twist for Nongshim, according to this simulation. And we are going to end up with a map pool of Haven, Split, and Pearl, according to this pick and ban, which is going to favor energy pretty heavily, actually. Paper X versus AG is supposed to be as close as it gets, according to Claude. Paper X bans Corrode, AG bans Bind. We get Haven, Pearl, and Abyss as the three maps. Again, Paper X on Abyss. Neither team has great data, and that is going to result in an AG win by nature of a hair. 50.9% versus Paper X's 49.1. Great googly mooglies. We've got AG going to the grand finals, and everybody is now clicking off this video and calling me a fraud. Just remember, I'm not controlling any of this. I'm just listening to the robots. Okay, moving on to lower round 3. We're knocking out another team, Gentlemates versus Energy. And this is going to end up with a pretty heavy Energy win. So the defending world champions will be making it into the lower final against Paper X. I mean, this would be a pretty banger bracket, not gonna lie, if this actually happened. Let's see who's gonna go join all gamers in the grand finals. But first, we have to make a slight adjustment to how Claude is simulating this because it's now a best of 5. So we've now told Claude to adjust to a best of 5 scenario with the ban, and then the picks back and forth. We'll see how that changes things. Ban, pick. Yep, okay. Breeze gets banned by Paper X, Split banned by NRG, and we end up with a 63% win rate for Energy. Okay. The best of 5 format exposed a critical weakness in Paper X's map pool. With 3 picks, they're eventually forced into Abyss, a map where Energy has a 100% win rate. Okay, Paper X's best chance is a 3-0 sweep. Okay, but if the series goes many games, Energy are overwhelming favorites. Very interesting. Okay. I mean, I could see it happening, but who knows at this point. Energy goes through the finals. Energy versus all gamers for all the marbles. And again, we have to adjust the sim because I believe we're still in the era of double map ban for the upper final into grand finals team. So let's go do that real quick. Okay, AG gets both bans, removing their 2 worst matchups versus Energy. So let's just have the simulation run twice where we get AG picking first and also Energy picking first. Okay, here's the grand final. AG are heavy favorites under both scenarios. Oh boy. I mean, there's no chance. If Energy picks first, AG only wins 66% of the time, and it's still a heavy favorite. And says AG wins 3-1. So this has AG winning over Energy, which is just an unbelievable bracket. I really don't believe this is going to happen, but we'll lock it in and hopefully get everything wrong. Okay, now before we go, I just have to rerun this entire bracket with a heavy penalty on Chinese teams because this is just too crazy for me to actually put any stock into. Okay, so what I'm going to tell Claude to do now is that China's not good. So let's adjust AG's numbers based off of how poorly EDG and XLG did at this tournament. And let's just rerun the whole thing. Okay, so after explaining the phenomenon of Chinese Valorant being much weaker to Claude, here is what it has to say. EDG and XLG's deflation is stark. Both teams did very poorly after they came to international play from China. Meanwhile, the delta for all other teams barely moved at all. So the difference between Chinese competition and the rest of the world is very real according to the statistics. Okay, so now that we have our new weighted model that really discounts Chinese results and Chinese statistics, we are going to rerun the tournament because, like I said, I didn't believe what I was watching there when it was doing it the first time. And from there, here's how the matches would change. G2 would win. And we've also added a little bit of logic to kind of handle how the coin toss and the map veto goes. So it looks like it's even going to sim for both and then kind of average whether a team is team A or team B. And with that result, we end up with a Haven split bind map pool between Nongshim and G2. And Nongshim takes the victory by a very slim margin. So let's go ahead and send Nongshim through. Okay, so with our new model, Mates is going to blow AG out. It looks like 74.8%. Pretty easy. AG probably going to bomb out of the tournament. Another near coin flip. I mean, it sounds about right. Two teams from the same region. Definitely really interesting. Looks like we're going to have a slight BBL favorite here. G2 versus Energy, another regional matchup. G2 are favored, but Energy keeps it competitive. Okay, looks like G2 takes the victory 56.9%. Okay, moving on. Upper final, Nongshim versus PaperX. I mean, this would be a banger. And the model gives Nongshim the highest chance of victory, 56.7%. Okay, we've got a very different bracket now with China not having the advantage. BBL versus G2. G2 are the clear favorites in this matchup. So if we send G2 through, we get another G2 PaperX matchup in the lower final. Let's go ahead and adjust for the best of 5 here. An absolute banger, says Claude. Here's the full breakdown. Road goes to PaperX. G2 goes to Bind. Abyss goes to PaperX. And then the final 2 matches are very close, with G2 squeaking out a victory of 50.3% in the best of 5 situation. Goes to the grand finals against Nongshim for a rematch. And let's go ahead and run the simulation. Okay, in both cases, the AI predicts that Nongshim is going to ban Pearl and Split. And that is going to result in 3 picks from Nongshim with Breeze, Haven, Abyss. G2 taking Corrode and Bind, which would be a 71% win rate for Nongshim. If that was the map pool, Breeze, Corrode, Haven, Bind, Abyss. And on the second scenario, where G2 picks first, Nongshim gets Breeze and Haven, G2 gets Corrode, Bind, and Abyss. And we end up with a Nongshim 69.3% win rate. So both cases end up with Nongshim taking the title in pretty dominant fashion. Which one of those brackets do you think is more realistic? Do you agree with either of them? Should we go ahead and throw the clankers in the trash? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.